uniting all educators with a passion for teaching and a health for faith. Get ready for a transformative journey with the Educators with Oil podcast, where host Ronnette Branham is dedicated to helping teachers become better through biblical strategies.
Welcome, educators. To Educators with Oil podcast, where faith meets the classroom and the oil flows. I am your hostess, Ronnette Branham, and today we're diving into something deeper than lesson plans, testing, or curriculum. We're talking about covenants that educators make, the ones we sometimes make without realizing it. These are agreements, promises, beliefs that shape how we show up in our classroom every day. Let me ask you this. What have you been repeating about your classroom, your students, your administration without even realizing it? That might be quietly binding you. Today, we're going to learn how to untie those unhealthy covenants and re-covenant with God's truth, His peace, and His Spirit-led wisdom. Amos 3:3 asks, can two walk together unless they agreed? What we agree with, we end up walking with. And in teaching, these agreements are powerful enough to either drain us or position us for victory. Let me name some of these covenants, some of these covenants. Some of these things we repeat over and over. Admin is so out of touch. They don't understand what we go through in the classroom. We don't have the necessities in our classrooms. How are we supposed to succeed? Sounds familiar, right? The curriculum isn't working. It's not even conducive to learning. Oh, I know. I said all of these things, and I have come into agreement with all of these things. My students are so far behind. There's nothing I can do to bring them up. Sound familiar? These statements feel like facts, right? But when we repeat them, when we live like we're their absolute truth, we made a covenant with them. You know, I believe those things. When I say them, when I have said them, I believe them. My administration doesn't even understand the classroom anymore. I believe that. And I walk like it, like they're giving me things to do that don't make sense, and I can't even walk them out at all. So, and when I say my students are so low, I understand it. I say it. I have said it. Up until now, that's how you say it. Up until now, and I have said those things. My students are so low, there's nothing I can do. I just act like I'm teaching them English and not second grade literacy because they don't understand English, so, and then they're low in their own language, literacy in their own language. So I'm just like, this is a fact. There's nothing I can do. Not to mention there are students in the classroom who don't even fit that mold. Some who've been in school since pre-K in English speaking classrooms, just that they're in there because their home language is Spanish. So I'm acting like this is a fact. In my classroom, I'm acting like this literacy program that we have doesn't work. It can't work. It's impossible for it to work. For one thing, kids can't read. So how are they going to build up stamina and reading when they don't know how to read? This is in my head. This is a fact in my brain. And I'm operating as if. And I have joined in, bound myself to these covenants and walked them out. So what's going to happen when I do that? It's not going to work because I believe it. I came into agreement with, I came into a covenant with it. So when we repeat them, and then we act like they're covenant, we bind ourselves to that mindset. The mindset is the way we think, the way our belief system, it's like, this is true. This is a fact. This is how I think. So I'm going to operate the way I think. Think about it. How many mornings have you had to drag yourself into your classrooms carrying these covenants like chains on your backs. You wake up in the morning and you're like, my kids are not going to learn this. My kids don't understand. Administration is so out of touch, and they're telling us to do, they're giving us these directives that don't make sense. And you're walking in the classroom with these weights on your back, on your shoulders. I don't know. Something feels different when it's on your shoulders than it's on your back, So, my story, I want to tell you, my story is my covenant with exhaustion. So I want to explain. I used to walk into my classroom saying, give it all you have today. And I even said this in a podcast episode. Give everything that you have, then do it again tomorrow and tomorrow. That's my speech with my story. You know how we have like these 5-second stories, these stories that are around 5-second moments in our lives, and that's what it is. I had a 5-second moment once where somebody said that the second grade teachers were failing the students, and I had proof positive, that social proof that said that's not true, because my students are growing. But when they lump all the students together and then they say, oh, overall, and then I'm in that boat, and then that was my 5-second moment when somebody said this to me. That's my 5-second moment. So from then, the whole next school year, I was like, watch this. I'm going to give them everything that I have, go home exhausted, come back and do it again tomorrow, and I did it. I gave it all, every ounce, every single day, right? I did it. But guess what happened? I went home tired every single day, exhausted, emotionally drained, mentally taxed. Why? Because I made a covenant with proving myself. That's what I did. I had bound myself to the belief that if I didn't move the needle with my students, if I didn't get them ready for the next grade, I had failed. I didn't realize I was in agreement with my own exhaustion. I was tired and I was good with it. I knew I gave everything that I had. I'll go home and go to sleep, relax. I did it. And I was in agreement with that. I was so much in agreement with that, I did it day after day after day for a whole school year. Right? But guess what? I don't think I'm alone in that. Many of us are making the same covenant today, trying to move mountains with our own strength, thinking exhaustion equals effectiveness. But God never intended that for us. He called us to walk in the Spirit, not in burnout. And the results, they can still come when you walk in covenant with the Spirit, as opposed to walking in covenant with exhaustion. But with this is what I heard somebody years ago say, you walk with sweatless victory. I think this year I'd rather walk in sweatless victory. I am not making covenant with the proficiency of my students that this is impossible to do. That's not I start school next week. My students, I think they start Thursday. I'm not sure because I'm really not keeping track because I'm trying to count every last day. I let the other days, that's a whole other story. He didn't mean for us to do that. He didn't mean for us to do it. It doesn't mean it won't work. It means we work differently. Don't think that, oh, now it's gonna be easy breezy. You have a job to do, you're gonna do it, but it's gonna be a different kind of work. We're gonna rely on God's wisdom as opposed of our own strength. We're gonna rely on his strategies as opposed to our own old mindset. We're going to rely on his provision. When we covenant with God's way, we can reach our students, manage challenges, and create progress without depleting ourselves. Imagine stepping into your classroom every day, every single day, confident, energized, full of hope, knowing God equips you for every student, every lesson, every challenge. That's the power of covenanting with the spirit, not covenant. Building a covenant with the spirit, untying, old covenants. So how do we untie those covenants that have drained us? I have a simple framework. So let's see what we're gonna do. I think I kind of rushed. I don't really want to rush through this episode because this is serious business that we are walking, that we have to walk in the spirit. We talk about this all the time. We have had strategists after strategists on this podcast. We have people with insight that is beyond what we normally, way we normally think. We have had people giving us idea after idea, giving us how to walk in the spirit in our classroom, how to put our assignment first and make it walking according to the spirit without being overwhelmed. Even if we feel like we don't have everything that we need, how we actually do. Because I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but we act like, in all seriousness, like God is sending us in the classroom on the battlefield with no ill-equipped. We're not ill-equipped. Even if you're a new teacher, you're not ill-equipped because you do have something. You do have something to work with. It might not be exactly what it is that you think it should be. I remember a lady told me, I was complaining about social studies. I said, we don't even have a social studies curriculum. This lady told me, yes, you do. I said, no, we don't. We do not. Right? And she said, yes, you do. Because we really didn't. Somebody put some stuff up online and call it a curriculum. So with that, she said, it might not be up to your standards, but you actually do have a social studies curriculum. I said, I never thought about that. Well, then I started complaining, well, she should be able to get away with that. All that kind of stuff, right? That was in my mind. That was my mindset. And I walked with it. I had to piece things together because God said, this is what you do. My brain, he's not, because I'm not ill-equipped, I went after solutions for my problem, for my issue, what I assumed was a problem, right? The way I perceived was a problem. So with that said, that's just a little way that I talk to go back into what I did. But the first thing you do, step one, is you recognize, listen to the words you repeat every day. Whatever you've been saying about your classroom, about your admin, about your students. So make sure you recognize what you're saying, what you're binding yourself to, because we have a tendency to walk around with our beliefs. I'm talking to me. People say, talk about preaching to the choir, but that doesn't pertain to this. We do this. And I know because I've been teaching for a mighty long time. And I do understand that we say things and we walk around with it on our back, on our shoulder, like with pride. Like we're making this work, even though, in spite of, to get, I did it as revenge to prove something to somebody, and I walked in it. So just listen to the words that you say every day. What are you saying? Because we know we the things that we're supposed to think about, things we're supposed to speak about, it's not what we're saying. I know it's not. And maybe you are saying it right. Maybe you're doing it right. Maybe I'm just talking to myself because I have things that I have to walk out. I have things I have to work out. Number 2, renounce. Say out loud, Lord, I no longer agree with this. I release it. Break the agreement. Just cold turkey, divorce it. Break that agreement. We don't have to walk in it. We don't have to say, walk in and we don't have enough, because you got it. Even if the only thing you could not have enough of that you absolutely need is paper and pencils. But there's a way to get it, because I send out message to my parents and my students, and they will bring in pencils. I tell the students, before I even get to the parents, I might forget to send a message on Class Dojo or whatever we use and say, can anybody send pencils or tissue or paper, right? Before I even get the chance to say it, a student will come in with a pack of pencils, with a bunch of pencils, with a bunch of boxes of tissue. So we could break it like immediately, cold turkey, what we're saying. The next thing, step 3, replace it. Replace what you're saying. Speak truth. Align your words with God's promises. This is talking to me no matter where I am, when I'm at home, in school, and I don't care, working on a project of some sort. Align with God's promises. I'm doing something right now, and I keep hearing things in my head saying, you can't do this. This is not how this works. Somebody said, there's no way you could do this. This is absolutely not, you're not doing that, because this is what will happen, and this is what you're going to do. And no, that's not the word of God. I'm not aligning with that. So I'm aligning with God's promises. If he tells me to do something, then from now on, from this day forward, that's what I'm doing. So I have an example. Instead of saying admin is out of touch, what are we going to say? We're going to say, let me make sure I don't have any comments. Okay. I just had to make sure I don't have any comments over there. So we're going to say, God equips me with wisdom and strategies that work for my students, even if resources are limited. Sounds better, doesn't it? Then said they're out of touch and they're not giving me what I need. God equips me with wisdom and strategies that work for my students, even if resources are limited. We can say that because we do have limited resources. That's how that is. Instead of saying, I have to give all I have and still do more tomorrow. I used to say that. I ain't saying that anymore. That's crazy. Say, I covenant with God's strength. My efforts are multiplied. I teach with joy, not exhaustion. Just think about that. Your efforts are multiplied. Instead of working so hard, depleting yourself, working so hard, like you do something small and it's multiplied around the classroom. The students will understand what you're saying. You're teaching with joy, and the students will be more inclined to listen to you, to learn from you. If you're a happy teacher, you're not like doing this out of spite. Watch this. These kids gonna learn this. You're gonna do this. You over here in that group while I'm with this group, and you're gonna rotate in 10 minutes because I'm gonna get everybody today. Watch this. And I'm tired. Did I reach anybody? Maybe, because you're using a lot of strength and effort to get the job done. But I'm going to do this with joy and watch. I don't need to meet with everybody today. I'm going to meet with 2 groups, right? For literacy. 1 group for math, right? And I'm going to be happy doing it. Watch how God multiplies what you do when you're in front of the whole class. More people are going to get it because you're happy to teach them and you're not exhausted. You're not tired, right? So hear that? You're shifting from change to empowerment, from exhaustion to overflowing. Let me see, one more thing. I went too fast. I rushed through that. And it's only 17 minutes out, right? 17 minutes out. That's a lot. I don't know. I need to go back over some stuff. So here we go. Now it's time to make the right covenants. I covenant with peace in my classroom. Sounds good to me. I covenant with wisdom, not worry. Sounds great to me. I'd rather covenant with wisdom, be wise, and then worrying, because worrying doesn't help. I covenant with joy, not exhaustion. Absolutely. I covenant with God's sufficiency over lack or limitations. God, he says he's going to supply all your needs according to his riches and glory. So how are we talking about we don't have what we need? Because that's not true. God ain't not going to send us. He's not going to send us out here ill-equipped. I don't believe that for 1 minute that he's going to send us out here ill-equipped. So say these things out loud. Write them down. Place them in your lesson plans on your desk. Let them guide your day-to-day teaching. I want to say those one more time. We think we got it. And then we walk around going back to the complaining mode. I covenant with peace in my classroom. I covenant with wisdom, not worry. I covered it with joy, not exhaustion. I promise you that's not going to be me this year. I will not be exhausted going home every day. I want to be able to go home and go for a walk. I'm covered it with God's sufficiency over lack or limitations. I'm not lacking. I'm sorry. I have what I need. Right. Remember, write these down. Write them down. I will go so far and write that at the end of my lesson plans if I do. Yes. Oh, I start saying some stuff. Because when you walk in God's agreement with His truth, your oil flows. It's going to. I promise you. Your energy is renewed. Your classroom environment changes, and your students thrive. Your classroom environment will change when you change. It's all about us. It's not about what we have, what we don't have. It's not about what they do, what they don't do. It can be. That is not going to make sense. If my life, my classroom environment is dependent on what that admin does, it's dependent on what books I have in my classroom. That is not. My environment is not dependent on other outside influences. You know, it other things can enhance it, but I'm not going to let other things tear it down. That's for sure. So we are tied to what we covenant with. Remember that. Whatever you covenant with, I don't care if it's good or bad, you're tied to it. If that's your belief system, you're tied to it, right? You're tied to that belief. This is what I believe. This is how I operate because of my belief. That's a covenant. That's an agreement that you have grabbed hold and shook hands with. You know how it's like a blood covenant. You know, we don't want that. You know how blood covenants work. Once that I don't know how old you are. I used to watch TV shows where they became blood brothers. They would cut their little finger, put their fingers together where the blood flow. Now we're blood brothers. They made covenant with each other. We're not doing that with all this negativity, all these things that are going opposite of the direction we want to go. Right? If I keep on saying my kids are not ready for this, my kids can't learn this, my kids are so low, it's hard for me to teach them. It's going to be. You're going to thinking that with that mindset. No. My God shall supply all my needs according to His riches and glory every day. My students have ears to hear. You know, they have. Yes, that just came. I had a pastor. You say that was hot off the presses right there. This week, it's gonna take 5 minutes. This week, next week, whenever you go back to school. I go back to school next week. Some people are in school. Take 5 minutes. Journal the covenants you've been living in. Pray and release the ones that drain you. Then write a new covenant that aligns with God's purpose for your teaching. That's not hard. That's not hard. We just found a few. You could go on. I don't know what else do you say. You might say some things that are different than the things I said. You might hate your job. You might hate your environment. You might hate the position. I know I did for 1 whole year. I hated the position that I was in. I hated it. Everybody knew I hated it. I didn't want to do it. I don't care. Everybody from the superintendent on down knew I did not want that job. And I made covenant with that. I was tied to that. That stuff was wrapped around me. This is what I do not like. I had headaches because of that covenant. I had headaches because of that agreement. I mean, worse than migraines, because it has a name for it. We're not going on all that. Worse than migraines. I had headaches where I should have not been functioning, but I functioned because I made a covenant that I was going to still go to work. You know, that. So remember, share this episode with another teacher who may need to hear it. Join our Educators with Oil community on Facebook. I'm there on Facebook. I'm going to start interacting more and more. I started last week really, with interacting a little bit more. I have to go back and say some more things, right? Grab your Educators with Oil journal. I didn't bring it over here. Grab that journal. It's on Amazon right now. You know, with Educators with Oil journal, look up my name, Ronnette Branham. You're going to find 2 journals, right? You're going to find the episodes, the podcast. You can listen to those things on your way to work. Listen to this on your way to work. This will help motivate you on the way, inspire you on the way to work, right? Click on that Amazon link and you'll hear that podcast. This is going to help you walk it out daily. That's just, remember, purpose meets the classroom. and the oil flows. Until next time, walk in the Spirit and watch God give you sweatless victory. Again, I'm just excited that you are here. Sometimes we have some people who will come all the time, and I just want to thank you again for tuning in every single. Hey Hazel, how are you? Tuning in when you could have other things to do. Some of us still haven't gone back to work, and we're tuning in. So I appreciate that. So share this with other educators. There are people who need it. Like, share, subscribe so you'll get the notification. Hit the notifications button so you'll get the notification every time I'm coming up. Every time we're here. We have some great guests coming up. We had some great, fantastic guests that if I had to put some money on it, these are top tier people who we have had this last month straight. We have had awesome guests. And so again, remember, what purpose meets the classroom? The oil flows. Thank you again for tuning in. Have a great, blessed rest of your day.
Subscribe to Educators with Oil podcast on your preferred platform and join Ronnette on this mission to empower teachers through the wisdom of the Bible. Because when biblical strategies meet the classroom, extraordinary teaching happens.
Educators, let's shine a light on our classrooms. See you on Educators with Oil podcast, where teaching and faith unite.